In 2026, the World Cup is adding 16 more teams. FIFA is calling it a celebration, but a lot of football fans are calling it something else, a disaster waiting to happen. Here's the strange part. More teams sounds like a good thing, right? More countries, more fans, more games. But some of the smartest voices in football are warning this could ruin the one thing that made the World Cup special in the first place. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. And you'll know something most casual fans still don't: why bigger isn't always better, even in sports. Let's start with the basic math. For decades, the World Cup had 32 teams. That number wasn't random. It created a perfect bracket. Clean groups, fair matchups, every team earned its spot through brutal qualifying. Now it's 48 teams. That's a 50% jump. Imagine the Super Bowl suddenly letting in 50% more teams overnight. Sounds chaotic already, doesn't it? Here's where it gets interesting. To fit 48 teams, FIFA had to change the entire structure. Instead of 8 groups of 4, now there are 12 groups of 4. And instead of only the top 2 advancing, more teams squeeze through. Even some third-place finishers get a golden ticket. Think about that for a second. A team can lose 2 out of 3 games and still advance. In the old format, that would get you sent home. Now, you might just need to lose less badly than someone else. That single change is why critics say this World Cup could feel less competitive than any before it. Let's talk about quality. Football fans have a saying: the group stage should hurt. It should be intense. Every match should matter. But with more teams, that intensity gets diluted. Here's a comparison that makes it click instantly. Imagine a cooking competition. With 8 elite chefs, every dish matters. Every mistake is fatal. Now imagine 48 chefs. Some of them just learned to cook last year. Suddenly, some fights aren't fair fights anymore. They're mismatches. That's the fear here. Weaker national teams, teams that never would have qualified before, are now guaranteed a spot. And that means we could see lopsided scores: 9-0, 10-0, games that feel less like competition and more like a formality. Now, here's something most people don't realize. This isn't actually new. FIFA tried something similar before. In 1982, the World Cup expanded from 16 to 24 teams. Fans complained then, too. They said it would ruin quality. But here's the twist. It didn't. The tournament adapted. Some of the greatest World Cup moments in history happened after that expansion. So maybe this fear is overblown. Or maybe 2026 is a completely different beast. 16 more teams is a much bigger jump than 8. Let's talk about something Americans specifically will notice: length. This tournament is getting longer, way longer. We're talking 104 matches instead of 64. That's an extra 40 games squeezed into the calendar. Picture watching a movie that's supposed to be 2 hours. Now it's 3.5 hours. Same story, just longer. Some scenes probably didn't need to be there. That's the exact criticism players and coaches have raised. More games, more fatigue, more injuries. All for a tournament that some say didn't need to grow at all. Here's a fact that might genuinely shock you. Players could be required to play up to 8 matches in a single tournament now. Professional athletes already play 60, 70 games a year for their clubs. Add a longer World Cup on top of that, and injuries aren't just likely, they're basically guaranteed. So why is FIFA doing this? Follow the money. More teams means more countries feel included. More countries included means more sponsorships, more broadcasting deals, more ticket sales in more markets. This expansion isn't really about football, it's about business. And that's the uncomfortable truth nobody at FIFA says out loud in press conferences. This tournament is growing because growth equals profit, not because the sport needed 48 teams to be great. Let's flip the argument for a second, because there's a case for the defense too. More teams means more countries get real World Cup dreams. Nations that never sniffed a World Cup spot, some African nations, some Asian nations, some tiny footballing countries, now get a real shot at history. Imagine growing up in a country that's never once qualified for the World Cup. Now, for the first time ever, your national team might actually make it. That's not nothing. That's a genuine once-in-a-generation moment for entire nations. So here's the real question this video is building toward. Is the World Cup sacrificing quality for inclusion? Or is inclusion exactly what makes the World Cup the biggest sporting event on planet Earth? There's no clean answer, but here's an interesting fact to chew on. In 2022, with just 32 teams, the tournament was still considered one of the most dramatic ever. Argentina's win, Morocco's historic run, so maybe the magic of the World Cup was never really about team count at all.
Maybe it's about stories, underdog moments. And with 48 teams, there's actually more room for underdog stories than ever before. But here's the counterpoint that critics keep bringing up. More room for underdogs also means more room for blowouts, more lopsided games, more moments where a viewer, especially someone brand new to football, tunes in expecting drama and instead sees one team dominate from minute one. And that matters more than people think, because for a lot of Americans, watching World Cup 2026 on home soil for the first time, this tournament is their first impression of football. If their first game is a boring, one-sided blowout, they might not tune in again. That's the real risk here, not for the diehard fans who'll watch every match no matter what. The risk is for the casual viewer, the one deciding, right now, whether football is actually worth their time. So let's bring this together. 48 teams means more countries, more stories, more chances for history. But it also means longer tournaments, more mismatches, and possibly diluted quality in the group stage. Whether this ruins the World Cup or reinvents it, we genuinely won't know until the first ball is kicked in 2026. Here's the one thought worth remembering. Every major sporting event that's ever grown bigger went through this exact same fear. And more often than not, the tournament survives. It adapts. Sometimes it even gets better. Maybe 48 teams isn't the end of the World Cup as we know it. Maybe it's just the next chapter, a chapter written by more countries than ever before. If this helped you actually understand what's coming in 2026, hit subscribe, because we are breaking down everything about this tournament, one simple video at a time, so you walk into the World Cup knowing more than most lifelong fans.